Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to just call this meeting to order. If everyone could review the minutes. Okay, if everyone's done reviewing the minutes, are there any changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept. Okay, Ruthie. Any? In your name? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion has carried. Is there any public comment tonight from non-DAC members about agenda items? No? Okay. I was just going to postpone the board update for a little bit. Mary Fisher has been detained, so we will go on to the presentation. And for the presentation, Dr. Carlin has also been detained, so Cindy McClung will conduct the entire presentation.
Thank you, and good evening. It's nice to be here, and Denise sends her regrets. She may be able to join us at some point, but she is off campus at the moment and hasn't been able to get back quite yet. So if you have not yet had the opportunity to sign in to Kahoot It, please do so, because we're going to play a game in a little bit. Wake you up on a long evening here. Hopefully you're in the right place. If you're a DAC member, welcome. If you're not, run now. So here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to start out with a quick review of Vision 2020, which is our district strategic plan. Then we're going to look at our vision and mission specifically, and then conduct a SWOT analysis. You actually did that on your way in. We're going to review your comments from that SWOT analysis, and then we'll talk about what the next steps are in this process. Our board is currently going through a long-range strategic planning process. We did this same activity with board members a couple of months ago, reviewing the district's vision and mission, talking about what it means to them as a board and what is their role in forwarding the work of Vision 2020. Defining core values. Our district as a whole, until this year, had not defined core values. So the board is in process of doing that. We expect those to be finalized in probably in April. We'll bring those forward for board approval. The board also conducted a SWOT analysis, just as you did. So the purpose of this evening is to gather input from you in terms of what you see as the district's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, giving you a chance to weigh in. This information will go back to the board and to Dr. Atkins, and will also go to other division personnel who are planning their long-range priorities right now, so that they can see the input from different community members, from our school population, so that they have a wide variety of input as they make those decisions. They're looking within every division. They are presenting to the board their priorities for the next 10 years. As we know that it's almost 2020, so we've been we've been talking about Vision 2020 for a few years now, and it's almost upon us. So now we're looking beyond. As you know, we have 4 overarching goals in our strategic plan. The first one is the one that is supported by everything else we do, and that's our intent to increase student achievement. Our second one is to increase family and community engagement. In order to increase student achievement, we need really great people working for our district. So goal 3 is all about retaining those effective and highly effective employees. And then we are committed to being better every single day. So we want to become a model continuous improvement organization. That's goal 4. If you look at Vision 2020, one of the targets around that first goal is to increase access to quality pre-kindergarten programs for students within our community. We know that students who come into kindergarten with a lack of verbal skills, with lack of opportunities of being read to, it takes them a very long time to catch up. So we want to provide as much support as we can, not just within our district, but also within our community to provide that education to our young children. The next target in Goal 1 is all about that student achievement and looking at our state academic ranking. Our goal is to be in the top 5 districts in the state by 2020. Now that's a big jump. When we started this, we were 35th in the state. This year, we moved up 5 spots. It's the second largest jump in our history. So we're very proud of the work that's being done, but we're not there yet. So we're still working on that. Some of the factors that are included in that ranking include proficiency gains in the core subjects, learning gains in the core subjects, an increase in the graduation rate, and then the percent of students that are going forward with that are graduating with an industry certification. So we have targets in all those areas. We also know that if kids are going to learn, they need to be in school. It's kind of hard for them to learn if they're out of the classroom. So we're really focused on closing the gaps in a number of ways, including decreasing those out-of-school suspensions through the use of some really good strategies to help kids stay where they need to be in order to learn. Goal 2, we're looking at increasing that family and community engagement. We're in the middle of a big branding process. It's been ongoing for about a year now. You'll probably be seeing some surveys coming out very soon asking you about your perceptions around the district. We want to increase our community and business partnerships, and also a really big one that you've been hearing a lot about recently is increasing revenue from outside sources. I'm sure that you're familiar with this topic, but we have a desperate need for capital funding. We need to build 7 schools in the next 5 years, and we just don't have the funds to do it. So we're looking at other places to make that happen. The third goal, as we talked about, increasing the retention of our effective and highly effective staff members, decreasing our turnover, increasing retention, decreasing those unfilled positions. We have some really critical positions within our district that are just hard to fill. So we're working on different ways to entice people to come to Lee County and fill those positions as quickly as possible. And then we need our employees to stay healthy, because just like it's important for the students to be in the classroom to learn, it's important for their teachers to be there and be healthy in order to teach, and for our support personnel and our whole support network to be healthy. So one of the ways that we encourage that is to increase the number of people who are attending health screenings and giving a real emphasis on staying healthy. This one's my baby, continuous improvement, and really working on helping people improve processes. My favorite quote, well, one of my favorite quotes, is that if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. So we're committed to looking at those processes and making them as efficient and effective as possible. So we're increasing our employee expertise by going through a lot of Lean Six Sigma training, a lot of hands-on work going on within our schools and within this building in the district. We have our own internal process called Continuous Systemic Improvement for Lee County, where we have like departments or like schools, as like, it sounds crazy, but what I mean is like an elementary school visiting an elementary school, one department visiting another department, looking for strengths and opportunities for improvement and identifying best practices. So it's a great learning opportunity for both parties. We also are committed to delivering excellent service. So we have surveys ongoing. Anytime you get an email from district staff, you have the opportunity to click on a survey and provide feedback on that service. We're looking at decreasing safety deficiencies within our schools. So we want everyone to be safe so that they can be in school. And we're also working very hard to decrease the percentage of our budget that is spent on transportation. You know, that's almost like a magic act, because we have more kids to transport, and yes, we're still managing to spend less money doing it. Last semester, changing some of those routes in transportation saved us $500,000 in one semester. So we're really making some great gains there. So now we want to play a little game, and I need to come over here to bring up the right one, but if you will go to your Kahoot It spot. Here's the PIN number. So enter that at Kahoot It. Hey, we seem to have slowed down. Do we have people still trying to sign in? Couple? Oh no. There we go. So as we're finishing getting signed in here, you're going to see a question, and then you'll have 4 responses. Actually, I believe on these we only have 2. You'll have a number of responses, and you're going to choose the shape next to the response that you wish to give. All right, it looks like we've stopped, so I'm going to start the game. So if you know the district's vision statement without cheating by looking somewhere else, yes, or you're not really sure. All right, so 27. Yes, we know it. 16 aren't really sure. So let's find out. Here is the vision statement: to be a world-class school system. Did you get it right? If you did, yes. If you didn't, no. All right. So people who thought they knew it apparently knew it. That's the way to go. All right. Next question. So do you understand what it means? All right, so there are our results. 24 are sure they know what that means. 17, not quite sure, and 2 really don't have a clue. And that's okay, we want to know. Here's our next question. So we just talked about vision, so what do you think is coming up next? Mission. So do you know it? Yeah, it does play music, doesn't it? I don't know why it's not showing up. Maybe my sound's turned off. It is annoying. Yeah, it's turned on. I'm kind of glad it's not there because I didn't go in and put in special music. Should have put in the Jeopardy song or something. Wow. So a lot of people knew the vision, not so many with the mission. Okay, so let's see, what is it? There it is. Did you get it? Okay, wow. All right, that's some good information for us. And so now, next question. Do you understand what it meant? To help every student reach his or her highest potential. Right. So interesting. Even if you didn't know it, appears like it's pretty clear to most people once you hear it what it means, whereas our vision wasn't quite as clear. All right, that's the end of our game. Thank you very much. This information will be passed forward to our board as we look into long-range planning and continue that. There they are again. So let's talk about the vision, to be a world-class school system. Those of you who felt like you really understood what that meant, what does it mean to you? Yes, ma'am. And for people who weren't so sure, what's confusing about it to you? Yes, sir.
What's the metric?
So how do we measure it?
To just call yourself world class, what is it? Statement, I think, is self-evident.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
Not just what you described, but if the building isn't a nice building or studying or whatever they're doing.
So the organization as a whole, not just necessarily the product of that organization. Okay.
Fuzzy to me because not having metrics, or I've always seen people
Mm-hmm.
because not only technology, you've got buildings that are shape, classrooms that are good shape, are identified as needing help. That's why it was. That's why.
A little fuzzy. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Terrific, thank you. Anyone else? All right, we have our board member here listening, and we will make sure that these minutes get to the board as well. So what's the role of this committee in moving forward the work of that vision and mission? You're giving up 2 hours of your time, when you include travel, probably closer to 3 hours of your time, on an evening when you could be home with family or out playing. So there's a reason you're here. Wonderful, thank you. So to increase that communication. Terrific, thank you. Bring new ideas. Yes, sir. Terrific. Yeah, so lots about communication, making sure that the board is hearing the voices of the community and the school members, and then being able to take back information as your role as that conduit of information back to your representatives. Okay, I'm sorry, to the people you represent. Okay, anything else? All right. We're not going to do that part. We just talked it through. So now we're going to look at what you had to say about the SWOT analysis. We gave you homework. Did you feel like you were back in the Lee County school system? So we asked you to look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we're going to start talking about the strengths. And anytime we're looking at strengths and weaknesses, we are looking internally. What are those things that internally we do really well, and where do we have those opportunities for improvement? And we look at those in terms of the 7 criteria categories that were part of your reading. We look at it in terms of leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, knowledge management, data collection, our workforce, our processes, and then obviously our results. So in terms of strengths, we have training is excellent, student supports, dedicated teachers and administrators, going outside the district to recruit. You know, we've even been doing some recruiting through webinars. Lots of data available, and one example of that is our CASTLE program, which, by the way, is a homegrown program and is being used to allow people at all levels to be able to look at data and make decisions based on that data. Professional development, partnerships with FSU and FGCU and FSW, the school pride that's demonstrated throughout our district, and then having some amazing teachers and administrators, as was mentioned before. Okay. So internally, looks like it's very clear that we have dedicated people here. And I will vouch for that. I've been in all but one. I haven't been to the new Bonita Springs High School yet. But I've been in every other school in this district. And there are amazing people teaching our kids. So I can vouch for those. Weaknesses, East Zone busing, taking too long or not getting there at all. Transportation, overall zoning. So there's a lot about transportation here. And as you know, one of our Vision 2020 goals is all about improving efficiencies in transportation. So that's something that we are aware of as well. Teacher pay, wow, yeah. We want to be able to retain people, and that does mean that we need to work on it a little bit. With the last ratified contract, our teachers are now being paid at the 55th percentile within our state, which is awesome, you know, to be able to get there. We won't talk about where administrators and our superintendent are paid because they don't even come close to the 50th percentile. Teachers leaving for other careers, career ladder versus professional contract, leadership at the site integrity. And that's interesting because it's also listed as a strength of having our leaders at our site. And then community engagement, involvement, awareness. So you are good examples of people who are committed to being involved in our district and to making sure that your voices are heard and the voices from your community and your schools are heard. But look around this room. Is everybody here tonight? So how do we increase that? We were working on that as well. How do we increase that community engagement? Goal 2, Vision 2020. More weaknesses. It goes right back to teacher pay, housing stipend, a lot of testing. Goes back here to our proximity to schools and goes back to transportation. Continued vision for longer periods, more than 3 to 5 years. So we are addressing that with our 10-year plan. More teacher coaching, longer than apples. You know, teaching is one of the toughest jobs. And if you're not a teacher and you haven't done it, go try it for a day. It's the most rewarding thing you can do, but it's very difficult. And yeah, you know, we need more time, more coaching. You look at residencies in hospitals with doctors, they go through, you know, a long period of support. So this year, one of the changes that has happened is that we have a whole team now dedicated to teacher support over in our professional development department. We have coordinators for every step of the career ladder now to provide that support. So we hear you, we agree. Public opinion, giving drama, board drama, lack of follow through, too much focus on data rather than what to do with the data. This is something we're working on. We're providing that training to develop the expertise so that people know when they see some numbers what to actually do with those numbers and how to problem solve around that data. So thank you for those. Those are really good points for us to take back to our board and to our departments as they're working. Now we're going to go for the opportunities and the threats over the next 5 to 10 years. And again, going back to your reading, do you remember those lovely pest factors? Okay. So when we are looking at opportunities and threats, we're looking externally. So what are the political ramifications that we need to be aware of? What are some of the economic, socioeconomic, and then technological things that we need to be aware of? So in opportunities, partnerships, FGCU, Montmoring, tech and vocational, social media, social media, social media. Yeah, you talk about a double-edged sword, right? Engaging students as fellow change agents, focusing on specific population, younger population, safety protocols, making those uniform across the district, and you know that that has been on everyone's minds for the past week, and we are so aware of how important it is to make sure that those protocols are followed. Consistency in curriculum and instructional focus, and hall monitors for schools, going back to that safety again. External threats, the debt charter, the district's debt, charter and private schools, rapid growth throughout the county without additional money for additional schools, state legislator, and yes, we have one named there. A lack of connection to schools, education in the part-time residential community. You know, that's a real challenge for us. We have a lot of people who are not here year-round or who have raised a family elsewhere. So helping them to understand the importance of a good, solid educational system and what that does for their property values, among other things, is really an important step for us to take. Despite growth, still considered a snowbird tourist area, jobs or retail, families can't afford to live here. Better school district, security district-wide and uniform across the schools. Okay. We have one more here, I believe. the end of talc protections for teachers, lack of money, uneducated public in regard to the state of the school system, unfunded mandates, money influences on our state reps, and lack of transparency and community awareness. I believe that was it. All right, so thank you so much for taking the time to put these here. If you have additional comments that you want to add, if you will email those directly to Cassie, she'll make sure they get added to the notes here and get forwarded to the appropriate board members and people within our district who are working on their long-range plans. So as we said, all this information will be provided to the board, to Dr. Atkins, excuse me, and then it'll be incorporated as staff is working on those long-range plans. We are February 27th, so next Tuesday. Next Tuesday at the board workshop, we'll be hearing from our academic services and human resources departments in terms of what they see as long-range priorities. In April, we'll be hearing from executive services and the long-range priorities there. We'll also be spending April working on a draft of the long-range strategic plan, bringing that back to the board, and then we will bring the final product back to DAC in the fall, so you'll see where your work has ended up. All right. We also like to know what went well for you and what we could do better the next time. So we weren't going to do that, but we're okay on time? Ms. Fisher's coming up next. So very quickly, a plus means that something about the presentation you enjoyed, helped you learn something, and then the delta are what can we do better next time? Because we're going to all of our groups and asking for information, so you know it's a learning experience for us as well. So anything that you would like to say? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's good information. Thank you. Other comments? Yes, sir. Right. Indeed it is. Mm-hmm.
Besides that, I mean, there's just so many avenues of comments, like, when it wasn't gonna go through, resident that they're interviewing, tax to tax, and it's just like, the school district, get back out with a rebuttal. So to rebut that and get the real true information out.
Yeah, thank you. If you'll make that as put that in there, and then to address your question, yes is the short answer. Lauren Stillwell is an amazing, amazing director of communications. She is. Specifically related to the sales tax initiative, which it seems you were mostly addressing. There is a project plan in place, and part of that is the development of informational materials. Now, you know, as a school district, we can't tell you how to vote. but we may provide you with facts. And that's what we do. We're educators. We want you to make informed decisions. We hope that you agree with our point of view, but if you don't, if you vote, we've won. Because what we want to happen is for our community to know as much information about our district as possible. We want you to know the facts. We want you to look at that and say, wow, what happened to that $200 million a year? And how are we going to make sure that we have world-class buildings and students and opportunities if we don't have the funding to even keep our chillers up and running, okay? So we have materials being created. As we get into the cycle with this, there will be messages there are already messages on our website in terms of frequently asked questions, and you've seen some rebuttals in the news press and some editorials in the news press that are trying to just set the facts straight, because there is a lot of misinformation out there. So thank you for that question. Other comments? All right, well, I appreciate your time. And Mrs. Fisher has joined us, so I'm going to turn over to her for our board update.
So your comment, first of all, I want to thank all of you who are here for being here, because your opinions, your voice, your ideas, and your challenges are critical to us so that we can do an adequate job in helping Lee County schools become world-class. And also to meeting our mission, because we have such a huge, diverse population, and the needs are so varied. And it is incumbent on us to provide a quality education to each and every student. And we have kids from 146 countries speaking 159 different languages. We're a 73% free and reduced lunch district. So we have challenges with cultures, with economics, and with where kids are. We have kids coming to us at the age of 8 or 9 who have never been to school before, and certainly never seen buildings like we have. And yes, over the past decade, our capital funding has been cut by 2/3, and we have grown by 23,000 students. So for a board update, and the press can be our friends, but there is freedom of the press, and sadly, bad news sells, and so whenever there's something negative, they're going to report it. But that is very good because it's transparent, and everyone has different opinions, and they're entitled to those. So I think it's really important that we do provide the facts. I think our challenge is in getting people to know the facts, because the word does not get to everyone. Not everyone reads the news press or watches NBC or Fox. So, I think we have been making an effort as a board to get out to schools, to SAC meetings, to PTO meetings, to any organization in the community who wants to know more about why do we need more money. Well, I think you guys had that presentation, did you not? So it's kind of a no-brainer, and I've been advocating for this for 4 years and have spoken to many organizations, and they're like, well, we didn't know that. And recently, as board members are going out and talking to different groups of people, we're getting the same reaction. It's like, wow, we didn't know that you have that much less money and a lot less money from the state, and that the property-owning taxpayer is shouldering the burden right now. It's all on you guys. When you see your tax bill, what you're contributing is keeping our schools going. And in order for that to happen, we have to be fiscally responsible. We have to do more with less. And we have more people doing more jobs than their original job because we are short on staff. And it's hard for us to attract people to do these jobs when we don't have the money to pay to compete with other districts. So, one of the things that's high on people's minds now is the safety and security of our schools, and that's part of what we do with capital funding besides building and maintaining our schools. And so we've been talking to staffs at different schools about how does it actually affect you? So one principal said, well, we're raising money for a cover for our playground, which ought to be paid out of capital funds, but we don't have the money for that. So again, we go to the parents and the community to ask for help. With the sales tax, everybody's going to pay a little bit. Tourism will pay almost up to 30% of it, give or take a little bit, depending on the season. And medicine and food are not taxed, and high-ticket items only up to $5,000. So it really is less of an impact on most families, especially families who may have some economic challenges themselves. It's a more fair way to get it. We're not getting it from the state. We have, in our legislative priorities, asked for continued improved funding and to be able to raise the tax millage, but that has been a no, and a no, and a no. So we have options. We can borrow more money and incur more debt, but then we're paying currently right now, I think, about $54 million a year in principal and interest on that debt. It doesn't make sense to incur more debt at this point. The safety and security issue, the tragedy in Broward County, really brings that up to the forefront. So I was doing some research because I wanted to write an article, and I found out that every day in this country, 47 kids are shot by other children, either injured or killed. And 97% of the injuries or deaths that come from gunshots take place in the United States of America, not in other countries. I didn't know that. I thought that's really something to think about. So, you know, do we need safety and security? Yes. Do we need more police officers? Do we need more fences and guard shacks? I, myself, think that there's another point. I think that we have to be allowed to have the time to work with kids on social skills, on how to get along with one another, on sharing and taking care of our friends, and not picking on people who are different than we are, because everybody's different. And over the past couple of decades, we've been focused on some other things and have lost that ability. And I think we need to have some common sense. Superintendent Runcie from Broward County said the other day, you know, we're working in silos, and we're not taking the time to teach our children social skills. And so we really need to take a look at that in addition to the increased safety and security of our physical facilities. We have a school board student advisory committee, and they are absolutely incredibly amazing. Each one of our middle schools and high schools is represented by a student and an alternate. And they share with us many ideas, and it's almost as if some of the things that they wanted to talk about almost were like a clue that something like this could happen, because they worry about getting along with others. They worry about bullying. They worry about health education, sex education issues. They worry about fellow students with substance abuse issues and mental health problems. And so when I see the news now following this tragedy, and I see the young people going to Tallahassee and Washington and speaking up and using their voices, I say, we have our kids who know exactly what's going on. It's a subculture. You know, we're spinning wheels and we're making plans for them, but they have their own thing going on. So I think we really need to start opening up and listening more to our students. They're incredibly articulate. They're incredibly insightful. So I think that that's something that those of us who have access to the kids in schools and at homes, parents and teachers, that we start listening to them. They have great ideas, and they can help us change the situation that we have now. They are, in fact, our future. So I guess that's my board update for now, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Okay, we're going to go to breakout groups now. Since we're done a little early, we'll come back from breakout groups at 7:30 instead of 7:45. and they need me. Okay, welcome back from Breakout Groups. Let's hear from the elementary group first. Elementary's not back. Oh, you're elementary.
I self-nominated myself to be their leader because ours didn't show up. So. Yeah. All right. I don't know what I got into, but we had a couple of topics that we discussed. Should I wait for them to come in? No. All right. So one of the issues that we discussed was again about the failure of whether the half-cent sales tax does not pass. What are the options? A lot of discussion about where the money is and why we're in this situation. What else do we have here? Another one of the big issues that we discussed about it was the social skills and the second step program and making that part of the curriculum, and especially at a young age. I think that was a big topic, that it seems like there's some disparity between schools on which use it and which don't. Let's see here. We also talked about politics a little bit and about current political climate in Tallahassee and what bills may be affecting us, and how we are going to how we're going to change that, and how we can make an impact currently by contacting our legislatures and letting them know that we are voters and that we feel this way about a certain topic. One of the bills was House Bill 755. Is that right? 750. What is it? 7055. So we want to call our legislatures and make sure that we are against that one. I don't know if somebody from the district has more information on that particular bill. I don't want to speak on it. That's all I have. I could stay up here all night and talk, but I'll be done.
Thank you. Okay, middle school.
We had a busy session. Some of the things were some of the comments that were made as part of the analysis as well. There seemed a particular concern in the east and south zones are having issues with not just buses being late, but the buses actually just not showing up at all. And that's a particular concern, that the buses just never come, both before school and after school. And so the children are either missing out on instructional time or having to kind of parents are trying to figure out how to get their children and get them home. So the question was, how can this get solved, and how can communication about late buses be improved? We did have Board Member Fisher in our room who did comment that the Transportation Department is having a significant problem with both hiring and retention. And then for the people that are working for the Transportation Department, they're having a real problem that they just don't show up to work. They're signed up to work, they're employees, they're all certified, and the day comes and they just don't have enough bus drivers every day. And all they can do is have the ones that are working, ask them to pick up extra routes. So we did get a partial answer there, but it is still a concern to go forward. Another concern related to that was with the overall traffic increasing in our county and how traffic seems to be becoming more and more of a problem, you see a particular crunch at school time and around schools. So the question is, how can Lee County schools work with the Lee County Department of Transportation and both the Sheriff's Office and local law enforcement to address traffic and safety issues that are coming with the increased both construction and population? And are we working with the Lee County Sheriff's Office on this? And what input can the school board or school district give to the people that are in charge of transportation decisions, like where stoplights go and stop signs go and other traffic control devices? What's being done to address that, as our traffic problem seems to be getting worse and worse? Next question seems to be, there seems to be a problem district-wide with getting substitute teachers, and what's being done to recruit and retain substitutes. It sounds like school after school they're having a problem where not just that teachers are having to go planning periods, where there's co-teachers or teachers being pulled. You have administrators being asked to go be teachers. They're having to give up their essentially administration job for the day and have nobody in charge of running the school because they're in a classroom, because it's either that or there's 80 kids in one class with a teacher. They just can't fit them all in there, or they just don't have a teacher for the classroom. And it seems to be worse than ever. We had a principal in our room and we asked if it seemed to be flu related, and the answer was no. The issues with the flu has exacerbated the problem, but it started with the first day of school that they've had a constant problem that they just can't get substitutes, and that seems to be a real concern for the district to address. Another question was, for schools that don't use a uniform program, on the security front, how can students be identified so that teachers and administrators know each individual belongs at the school? There seemed to be some concern as to what's being done for that in the security standpoint, and how are schools making sure that everybody on campus belongs there. And then a sort of a corollary to that is, what is the long-range plan in the district to increase security and training for teachers, administrators, security personnel, and others in our school? What's being done about that? And obviously the recent events brought that more to mind, but I think this is a question that's been coming just in general in our society. It seems to be a bigger and bigger problem that everyone is looking at. And then attacking that sort of same question from the other side internally, there was a question to get some feedback on what has been the impact of the effort the district has put into restorative justice. So how is that impacting things that we've moved to a different model and method, and we're trying to see an improvement in that essentially the thought was this is supposed to help prevent problems before they occur with students, and the question was to get some feedback on how that's been going and what's gone on, and is it working, and that kind of feedback, what's happening. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, high school?
Okay, we had a really lively debate going on. We were slow to start, but then we got really going. We started off talking about the safety aspect, of course, consistency among the schools and among the discipline rules. And one of the things that was brought up was the bring your own device and how that's still in effect, but yet it is not overridden by the Chromebook, and that phones still become an issue. We also discussed inconsistency in the dress code among the schools, and we talked about the consistency enforcement in a school versus the consistency across the district among the schools, so internal consistency versus the external consistency. There was a comment, more parent involvement is needed in the schools, and that if there's no consequences for anything discipline-wise, then we shouldn't expect any change. So there was some concern about, again, with the consistency. As far as the sales tax goes, the comment was we are now behind the ball with that because of the false start with the early election and now moving it back. The message that the public is getting from many sources and the message that the public is delivering among our parents is that we wasted money. We waste money all the time, and that information has to get out in a multitude of different ways than the way that has been done in the past, and that meetings with HOAs and being invited to meetings should be replaced with just showing up and putting in the information. For instance, an example is there's a meeting with the new students going to FGCU called Yes to the Nest, and maybe just show up there and start talking about the schools rather than waiting for an invitation. We need to get in front of the sales tax issue rather than falling behind it like we seem to have done. The public perception of waste, lunches being given away to kids that don't want it, dispel each point by point as it goes along, and basically just get out more and push the message rather than pull the message.
Thank you. Okay, just before we move on, I just want to make sure everyone has these. I know Cassie attached them to minutes. Everyone have these handouts, Change for the Change, and you know to go to the website. If I'm going to have her reattach it because it seems like some people may not have this information. And also, she had put on the minutes the sales tax elevator speech. Make sure you have those, read them, study them, and also remember to keep checking back at change for change at leeschools.net, because it'll have updates on it about the sales tax initiative. And I know it's very frustrating because I know the media has portrayed Lee County Schools badly, but we need to get our voices out there. We need to try and learn the things on these pamphlets and learn to say them in your language and your voice and get it out there, because I know it can be done. I've done it personally, and I have friends that are very against this. They don't have children in the Lee County schools. I don't have children in the Lee County schools, but we just need to get this information out there to people in our own voices. So she's going to put these on the minutes again this time. So look for them. You know that she does put the answers to the questions at the back of the minutes too. We did it differently last year, so if you were here last year, like me, the first time, went, where are the answers? Because they used to come separately, they're in the back of the minutes. So, time for public comment about non-agenda items. Good of the order? Okay, motion's been made. All in favor? Aye. See you next month.